Have you got shrubs, bushes, hedges, or even large trees like this that could do with a really good prune? Or some branches or logs that need processing ready for the winter? Well, today on Fix It with Fowler Reviews, I'm going to be putting this SeeSii 6-inch mini battery-operated chainsaw through its paces and pushing it to its absolute limits to see if it's worth buying. This SeeSii CH700R mini chainsaw comes with everything you're going to need, and the first thing is the instructions. It's really simple to operate, but you're going to need these when you come to replace or alter the chain on the saw itself. So the first thing you're going to need to do before you can use it is to adjust the tension on the chain. So if you remove the cover, you'll see there's a thumb screw here. Loosen that off. And then this chain here wants to have between 2 and 3 mil play on the bottom. Comes provided with a screwdriver. You just put that into a slot here. Now, if you tighten that up, it will tighten up the chain. And if you slacken it off, it will slacken the chain. Give the chain a bit of a tug and then tighten this back up. Check the chain again, because sometimes when you tighten this up, it adds pressure to the chain. And once you're happy with that, 2 or 3 mil, we can then move on to the lubrication. On cheaper models, they have a bottle supplied with them that you fill with your chainsaw oil or your lubrication, and you manually apply that to the chain itself. The problem with that is you're going to forget, and it's a bit time consuming, and it's something extra to carry about. However, SeeSii have thought of that, and what they've actually included is a reservoir itself to put the oil into. You just unscrew this cap on the top, fill it with your chainsaw oil, and it's got an indicator gauge on the back to tell you how full it is. And then when you're operating it, you can just press this pump here, and that will put oil directly onto the chain itself. So like every battery operated tool, the heart of the tool itself is the batteries. Now these batteries are 21 volt, 4 amp hour. And the thing I like about these is they come with indicators on them. Some of the cheaper models don't have that, and that's really useful for not only when you're charging the tool, but also when you come in to use it. You can see how long you've got left and how much battery power you've got. So before we put that in, one thing I want to point out is this has a dual action safety trigger. And what that means is you can't just press that trigger and it will start. You have to squeeze this button at the side and then press the trigger for it to operate. So now we can put the battery in and we're ready to give it a test. So in the kit itself, you do get some safety gloves and some glasses. Now, when I'm using these sort of tools, I do not wear gloves. And the reason I don't wear gloves is because I like to feel what's happening. And I don't want anything snagging, especially on something like a chain. Now, that is my personal opinion and probably not what you should do. So to come to use it, I'm just going to hold this in place, give the pump a few squeezes, get some oil onto the chain, and then we're just going to try a few trial cuts. So as you can see, it's cut through that, no problem. It's quite a clean cut, which basically tells you that the chain is nice and sharp, as you'd expect with these first few cuts. So now let's move on and see if we can process this pile of logs and see how much battery it's going to use. Now this battery is brand new and it's fully charged. So at the minute it's on 4 bars, and we'll see how we get on chopping all this timber. As this chainsaw is new to me, I start with the smaller branches to get a feel for this new tool. I now move on to cutting some of these thicker branches. I soon realised the best place to cut with the actual chain is nearest to the saw itself. That way it eliminates any vibration or any movement of the branches and the chainsaw. So on that one single battery, I've managed to process all of this timber. which is quite a lot of cuts, and this is hardwood, it's not softwood, this is all hardwood. So it's done quite well, I think. The only thing I'm going to do before I do the next final test is to tighten this chain back up, because over time these do stretch, and especially when it's new. Move on to the final test. There's a few little safety things I'd like to mention about using chainsaws or mini chainsaws. So when you come to actually use these and cut with them, the best place to be cutting is this section here. Once you start moving along the chain, especially once you come to this front edge, you can get something called kickback. And that is because of the motion of the chain. It can cause this to jump up, especially if you hit a hard part of the timber or a knot, or if something you're cutting like a branch springs back and traps the chain. So just bear that in mind. The other thing is, you don't want to be leaning too far trying to use this, because you've then not got the right amount of control. So having said all that, I'm now going to do something that you should not do. And I'm going to put this to its absolute limits, and I'm going to try and cut this large piece of cherry. And it is a hard timber. So let's see how it gets on. To give a true demonstration of this saw, I've played this video back at normal speed. You can see I'm rocking the saw back and forth, the idea being that it creates less pressure on the chain itself, and I'm also trying to keep the front tip of the chain from going inside the log, although that's pretty difficult because this log is the same size as the chain. At this point the chainsaw stops working, to which I think it is simply jammed with pieces of wood. However, that is not the case, and I'll explain that in a minute. So as you've seen there, it did struggle to cut through that big, large piece of cherry, as you'd expect, because it's far too big for this particular saw. And you'd see also that at times it did stop operating. However, what I have found out is that is because it has a safety feature built in, where if the chain is under too much tension, too much stress, it simply just cuts out. You then have to restart it to carry on using it. So that is a really good safety feature, and should hopefully get rid of any of this kickback that I was talking about earlier in the video. So would I recommend this? Yes, I certainly would. It will not replace a chainsaw, but that is not what this is designed for. So if you want one of these, look in the description. There'll be a link that will take you directly to get one of these and save you some money on the way. So hopefully you like that video. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to this new channel.